We will see who joins us today. Right now, I'm the only one waiting. We'll see if a few people join us here and go from there, right? So here we go live. I broke my lathe, and we'll have to do some explanation here. And hopefully some people come in. If not, well, we'll just do what I was going to do anyway. So, good morning. Good morning, Jesse. And hi, Michael. Good to see you guys. Let me get myself adjusted here just a little bit on the comments. There we go. Okay. It's interesting on here. It says I only have one waiting, but apparently you guys are in here, so that's interesting. Hi, hi, Sherry. How you doing, CJ? So I'll wait for a few more people to get in here, but just to let you know, broke my lathe. Broke the lathe, and it's not showing me. Anyway, broke the lathe, and so we are going to do something different today. We're going to talk about preparing blanks for bowls and so forth, and we'll do some of that. But also about the engineering of the lathe and the banjo particularly. This is the banjo, and this is the part that broke. And like I said, when we get a few more people in here, I will explain. Okay. Try to make sure my camera's all set up. It looks like we got 21 people in here, so I guess we can kind of get started, but I can get around that a little bit. Okay, so yeah, it's a serious break, and not only was it a serious break, but it takes forever to get another part for some reason, because even though the factory is here in California, so that's kind of the issue here. So what happened was, this is called the banjo for anybody that doesn't know, and the banjo on the Laguna is made to hold a tool rest like so. That's how the tool rest goes in, and this tightens, and you can see on this one here that it tightens by turning this. That squeezes it, it's basically a squeeze feature. Okay, the problem with that, and I think you can probably see it, is over time this fatigues the metal, because if you're pinching in this part but not this part, eventually that's going to break, and that's exactly what happened here. If you see real closely, I'll hold it up here for the screen a little bit more so you can see it. But what happened here is that cracked, and this all broke off. And unfortunately, the friend of mine from the wood turning group offered me a spare that he had. Unfortunately, this does not fit my lathe. As you can see, it's a little taller. It's much more substantial. I mean, look at the thickness here and look at the thickness here. I mean, there's a big difference between these two. I think it's cast and machined, because this part at least is machined. The rest of it is cast. You can see the machining marks here too. So I would say it's kind of both. It's probably cast and then remachined to tolerance. You know, is what they probably do. This might even be bored. I'm not sure. But look at the thickness here and look at the thickness here, and tell me, is this not a much more substantial one, right? Well, since they made this one, they actually came up with the one now that has a second bolt. Now, what a lot of people were doing, and I'm not blaming Laguna necessarily on this, okay? I could get a machinist to make one. Yeah, I could, but this is all one solid piece. So to make it exactly the right size and everything, I think it's just as cheap to get another one, quite honestly. But what happened here is a lot of guys were doing this. They were putting a second hole in with a threaded hole, and which I did. I had a machinist friend, do that for me. And the problem is, if you don't turn these uniformly so that they're both squeezing in at the same amount, one's going to pull it over more than the other. And that's what happened here. I didn't pull this one in enough, so this one pulled it over, and that's where it cracked. Now, is it metal fatigue? Probably. You know, and is it something that they're aware of? Yes. Is it something they're going to fix? I don't know. But there are some other banjos that will fit on this lathe with a slight modification. One of the modifications, of course, is that it has to fit this piece here, because that's what slides into the bottom of the bed. This one does not do that, because look at the size of it. You see a slight difference? You got a 3/4 inch bolt as about a 3/8 inch bolt here, maybe. And so it's like twice as thick. This is twice as thick. Everything here is twice as thick as this one, and it is heavy. That is a heavy piece. But One Way and Robust both make ones that you can use, especially One Way makes one specifically for this unit. So I've ordered from Canada. Unfortunately, the castings in Canada will not be available until the end of the month. Very funny. So I'm hoping that my Laguna one will be here next week. And if not, I may make some other arrangements. I may go over to Harbor Freight and get a cheap one, or order a Wen from Amazon or something like that. But until Laguna gets on the ball, I mean, I ordered this on Sunday. They got back to work on Monday. They said, yeah, we got your order, and that's the last I've heard from them. Here it is Thursday. I mean, it can't take that long to take a piece of metal, put it in a box, which it probably isn't a box, and take it over and ship it. But apparently it takes them a while to do that. So I'll be calling them this afternoon and finding out what the exact situation is. A friend of mine took 6 months to get his part, he said. But, you know, I'm not blaming Laguna, because Laguna makes a very good machine. It's just this banjo design that is not good. I mean, I've been using this for 3-4 years now, so it's taken a lot of abuse over that time. There's been hundreds of bowls through this thing. And yeah, it's just something that happened. It doesn't happen to everybody, and it happened to me. So I'm not going to blame the company for this. I'm not going to say give me my money back or anything like that. I'm not going to badmouth them, but I will if they don't get on the ball and get the part to me. If they take forever to get the part to me, I may say something then. Yeah, being out of your shop for yeah, you're right, Mike. Well, yeah, but you were out of your shop for some other reasons too, Mike. So that's a little different. And so, but there's other things you can do when you are not turning. And so I thought I would kind of invite you into the other side of the job here a little bit today, and talk about creating bowls. And I mean, how do you create the blanks for the bowls? So that's what we're going to do today, is go through the different kinds of woods here and see how do you create a blank so that you are ready to turn. And a lot of times I don't bother. I just kind of grab a piece of wood like this or something and strap it on and see what it can make out of it. Well, this particular piece, for instance, wouldn't make a very good bowl right now for a couple of reasons. One, you got this piece of an occlusion or something. It looks like a branch that was coming through or something, and that's all going to come flying out. That's not going to stay in. You also don't have an actual cap. I mean, I suppose if you drew a line here, you could say, okay, there's a bowl, or I could cut it across here, but it can only be the bowl can only be this wide as it is wide here. So if we've got, say, 4 inches here, I'm going to be able to make a 4-inch here. If I flatten it off, so what am I going to end up with? Well, if I cut it right here, I'm going to lose this too. It's going to come flying off at some point. But let's suppose I cut it off here. I don't have enough bark to save the bark, so all the bark's coming off. This is that cork oak. And you can see the bark is really thick. But what I could do is, if I cut this along here, I'd have a flat spot. I'd have some way of making a tenon, and I would probably end up with a bowl about this big, or cup, basically. This is all I'm going to end up with, something about like this. So I'm not sure if it's worth even messing with. There are some other ways of looking at it. I could cut it here and chop this off, and then I'd have this tall, thin area. But again, I would have too much flat spot because it would only be able to make it as wide as I make this. See, these have to be the same. Otherwise, what you end up with is a flat side, and that doesn't work. So, yeah, you're right. It's probably pen blank material, and quite honestly, I think this is the best pen blanks. I've got a lot better pen blanks. So this is probably going to be firewood or something. We can't have fires in California. It's California. We're not allowed to have, wood burning stoves or things that could actually heat your house and things like that. You have to use other fuels. But anyway, yeah, you're right. That's probably what that should be. I can't even make a spindle thing out of it, really. I mean, I suppose I could make something that's 2 inches, maybe an ornament. That's a possibility, because really this right here is about the size that's going to be. So if I cut that up, I'd end up throwing most of it away, using a lot of my bandsaw, and this would probably be about what it would end up being. And not even this one. Like this one, I turned and look what I found. I found wormholes in it, so that makes it even smaller. Yeah. So didn't Michael? What didn't you know? Michael, you know everything. So what I thought I would do is bring you guys over here about the wood burners. Oh, yeah, well, it's California. You're not allowed to burn. You're not allowed to smoke. You're not allowed to do anything unless you're the governor, in which case you can go out during a pandemic and ignore your own rules and get away with it. So, other than that, that's about what it is. I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to move you to a different location here. So please bear with me for a minute, and do hit the like button if you can. I see there's like 54 people in here, but please hit the like button, and we will try to gently move you guys over. I got to take a plug out. There we go. I'll try and do this as gently as I can so I'm not banging you guys around too much. There we go. Okay. There. Does that look about right, guys? And I got to move my camera, or my computer around so I can see what horrible things you're saying about me. There we are. And my mouse. Okay. Now, I'll move Santa Claus here. Over here. I took over my wife's area for the morning. I will pay for this dearly later. I'm going to have to take her to lunch now. because I did this. So that's kind of part of the deal. If I take up her space and don't let her come out here to the shop, then I have to at least take her to lunch. So I guess that's a fair trade. Anyway, so yeah, you can't. Well, you kind of have to have permission for that too, because they kind of question how much water you're using. So if you're doing number one, you have to let it just sit there until you can flush on number two, but you can't flush on number one. You have to have special toilets in California that only allow a certain amount of water to go through. And if you try to flush a toilet with like a half a gallon of water, it's really hard to do. Or I'm sorry, like with a liter of water, but it's hard to do. But they keep stretching the limits. So California is just a weird state for that sort of thing. But anyway, so okay, what I have here, and I hope you can see in the picture. Let's see. I want to make sure that you're able to see everything just right. Okay, so you can see that piece of wood. This one has a couple of features to it. It has some sort of damage in here. I don't know if it's worms. It looks like worms from it, and it also has a pith. Normally, you don't want the pith because that's where cracks occur. Although this piece has been on the ground for a while, it has little minor cracks, but not much. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to cut this in a round, and it's going to kind of go around some of this. I don't know how deep this is, but we'll find out after making a circle. And I'm not going to do a perfect circle. I'm just kind of getting an idea of it. One way that you can do this is you can get these cake rounds. These are cake rounds. You go to your local bakery, they've got them. And you take a cake round and you put it on here, different sizes, and you put a screw or something down through this to hold the wood, and to hold it onto the wood, I should say. And you can use that to trace around as you go, or as you're cutting, to kind of do it. I kind of did a sort of a mark with my marker already, so I kind of have an idea of where I'm turning it, I'm putting it. It's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. But I want to make a round here, and then we'll talk about what you do afterwards. Okay, so let me. I'm going to turn on my dust collector here. Okay, and I'm going to put on my ears, and we'll see what we can do here. Always stay behind the blade. You want to go slow. No, I'm gonna come off here just so I can take that part off. Okay, now not a perfect circle by any means. In fact, kind of oval, but that's okay. I can trim that out later. Not too bad though. But it looks like I've got a couple little holes here. That other thing didn't come through, so that's fine. It looks like most of the damage, well, if you look at it, there's like little wormholes all through this. It's a little pecky, kind of a pecky piece of wood. But that's okay. And it looks like the bark stayed on, so it might be able to do a live edge bowl here where I can turn it and keep the bark on, and that'll create some more interest. There's some color in this wood. I think that's all going to be really good. And I can, like I said, I can shape that out a little bit more. But what you want to do now, after you've done that, and you can see the wood grain running this way through it. So we're going to have end grain, we're going to have side grain, and that cut pretty good. What we do after we have processed the wood, or turned the wood to what we want, I will apply some sort of sealer, like anchor seal, or you can use a liquid paraffin, or you can you can use any kind of wax. You can use a latex paint. People use just different things. This is a real good one. That there's other products on the market. I'm not endorsing any particular one. Anchor Seal's been pretty good for me so far, and you want to make sure you put that strongly on the ends here, on the end grains on both sides. A little bit on the sides is fine, but most importantly, you want really good coverage on the end grain, and don't forget to do the bottom also. Okay, because think of wood as like straws. And so all the moisture tends to come out of the end grain faster than it does here. And that's where we talked about before. We talked about warping afterwards after you turn a piece of wood. What happens is you got more moisture coming out this way than you do coming out this way. And so that creates a shift in the wood. So we will make sure that we have this really well sealed. And it will have to sit for a while. Now, another way we can do this is we can put it in the microwave. And you've heard me talk about this before, but if you microwave a piece of wood, say a minute or so on something like this, put it in there for a minute and a half maybe, and then stop, take it out, let the moisture kind of get out of it. Now, what some people do is they put it into a plastic bag with the end open. Okay, so that what happens is it steams in there, but then the vapor comes out and it keeps it a little more stabilized. And then they microwave it again, and you keep doing that over a course of maybe a day or so, and you will have much less moisture inside here, and you will have a very stable piece of wood that should not crack. I'm not going to guarantee it, because nobody can guarantee a piece of wood, but I think that would have a lot to do with it. Now, even here, I see there's a tiny bit of crack. Okay, and by the way, you can also use wood glue as a sealer. But there's a tiny bit of cracking going on right there now, and I don't want that to get worse. On this side, a little bit right there. So as this is drying, that could get worse, and it could ruin the bowl blank. So I want to make sure that I address that well. I'll probably put a little bit of a CA glue in there first, and I may make sure that there's a lot of liquid going down these holes, because I want to make sure the holes are filled or covered. And then I will put the anchor seal or some other sealer on it and let it sit out in the sun for a day or two if I can. It was raining last night, and we got 30-mile-an-hour winds right now, so who knows? But that's kind of the process on this piece. So I'm going to set that aside, and we'll See what you guys are saying here. Yes, thank you, Michael. Hit the like button and subscribe. I'd appreciate that a lot, guys. There's 165 people and you're watching, so that's pretty cool. Hey, Michael, you got your sponsor? Cool. Congratulations on that. So they're sponsoring overseas now. That's good. They're becoming a worldwide company now. That's good to hear. Now, here you got a different question altogether. Now, this is a piece of cork oak. And boy, that is a thick, hard. I mean, it's cork. It's soft wood, but it attaches very well to the wood. Anyway, so I look at this and I go, well, what can I make with this? Okay, I could cut this into a couple of 2x2 blocks basically and have something for the spindle. That's one possibility. I could cut this off right here, but I don't think that would be much use. The thing is, you don't want to cut this way because this is the end grain here. If I cut them down this way, I'm going to have end grain running this way. And if I was trying to go into this side, I wouldn't be able to. So, because the end grain is really hard to turn into. So I have to first decide what am I going to do with the blanks. If I'm going to cut them this way, then I'm going to have end grain here. And so if I put on a spindle, I'd be turning against the end grain on one side, and that's not going to polish out real well. So in this particular case, I want to go with the end grain this way, and I can make a couple pieces out of it this way that I can use for whatever purposes I find I need. And I'm just going to get a general measurement here, so it's relatively the same. Let's see, I've got about 3.5 inches here, and about 3 inches here. So it drops down about a half an inch or so this way. And so if I went to about 2 3/4, which is right about where I had it, I'd have a relatively square piece that I could use to do something with later. So I'm going to cut this right across here. Always turn your thing off right after this. And I think I'm going to square this up right now. I got a pretty square edge on this end. I'm going to square this edge up too, just to not perfect, but it's pretty close to perfect. I can throw this little wedge away. Now I've got a piece that I'll be able to use for something down the road. And I can get another piece right here. Let's see, right about there, I think. Just about right. I think again we can fix the end here. Thank you. And you can keep these. This is really hard wood. So these would make really good wedges if you need them for something. So that's always a bonus that you can use around the shop also. I don't think I'm going to save this piece, but I might give it to my wife because she's a crafter and she loves to do things with this. So I may just leave this over here for her. But at least we got two pieces here now that are usable. They're very green. It's very green wood. So, let's see. Hey Johnny. Hey Johnny, I saw you live the other day, and looks like you're really doing some stuff now on YouTube. That's really great. Wow, we got 200 people in here now that are watching right now. That's terrific. I wasn't expecting this kind of a crowd. Hi Timur. Hi Giuseppe. You're back. Welcome to everybody. And if you have any questions, please ask. And I will repeat. I'm sorry. Let me turn this off. I will repeat what I told you guys earlier that were here, and that my lathe was broken. And so when my lathe broke, I have nothing to do until I can get the other parts back. It's the banjo. It's broken. In fact, I can show you here, but it's until I get my new piece. You can see where it's broken right there. This is the banjo that holds the tool rest. And until I get a new piece in, new banjo in, it's ordered. But how fast Laguna will get it to me is another question. It's not Laguna's fault necessarily. It's just as much my fault, so I'm not blaming them. Okay. Now this is a piece part of that piece that I cut off earlier, and you see there's some nice colors in here. I'm hoping those come through. I'm honestly not even sure of the wood, but I can tell you it's pretty strong because look at that tensile strength even here where it's thin. I can break it, but it's going to take a lot of pulling to break it. It is pretty strong piece of wood. So here's another piece of it. And if anybody knows exactly what this is, I'm not sure. It looks a little bit, I mean, it has no real smells like cypress or anything like that. It has a little bit of reddishness in it, but I don't think it's like redwood or anything. Anybody got an idea what this could be? Feel free to jump in. It's got some pretty thick bark. It's got some nice, interesting work here. So what I thought I would do is I'm just going to save the middle part of this because really it slopes off quite a bit. I'm just going to make kind of a small circle here, and we'll probably use this we'll make a small bowl out of this later on. It's not going to be a big bowl, but I think it'll be a colorful little piece, especially if I can save this middle part. So I'm going to try and take both ends off, and then we'll go from there. So let me get and then we're going to go to a big piece after this. Yeah. So I always use this. It's called the $1 million stick, and you'll see why, because if you've ever had your fingers cut off in a bandsaw, you know why they call it the $1 million stick. Okay. Right now, I just kind of get this rounded off a little bit. Just want to get the general idea of it. The wood looks pretty solid. Now I can come back in here and I can make it a little bit. I got that all out of there. Okay. We're going to dump this part. And again, it's a little bit on the oval right now. It's not a problem. Once we chuck this up, we'll be able to turn it. But this is basically what it's going to look like. It's going to be a nice little 4-inch bowl or so. I don't know if we'll keep the top or not. We'll see, maybe, because it does come down the sides. But very quickly, you got another blank ready to go, and you'll be seeing that in one of our upcoming episodes. So it could be cottonwood. You're right. I don't think it would have a smell if it was cedar, and it doesn't have the smell of cedar. And we do have cedar around. We do have cottonwood also, and quite frankly, you may be absolutely right with the cottonwood. I mean, I also had some juniper earlier, so that's always a possibility too. Okay, now I have here a large piece. This thing's probably weighing in at around 20 pounds or so. You got to make sure it's going to clear. And I have new blades coming in because this one's going to get used up today. That's for sure. And I don't want to force. You never want to force. If your blade starts to go south on you, it's time to stop. If you're having to force it through, trust me. I've got the fingers to prove it. This bandsaw went through here, through that bone, and through this bone here. They had to take a tenon and reattach it. Here, they had to fix the bones here, and now I can use them. You can see it bends a little bit to the side, but for the most part, I've got full use of it again 2 years later. But that was a pretty messy thing when you're watching your fingers go right into the blade. Seems like slow motion. So yeah, the bark, the cottonwood, I kind of agree with you on that. You're very right. It very well could be, Michael. It's sometimes hard to tell, but I'm not a botanist, so we always call these things fog. Found on ground. Actually, what this was found at a church. There was a church that was closed down, and they apparently had cut down this tree because it was getting it had bugs in it, as we could see, and so all the pieces were just laying there. So I went out there with my truck and we loaded up 3 or 4 big pieces. They were probably, well, if you can see here, it was probably a good 18 inches or more, maybe 20 inches around. So I chainsawed it the other day, and this part does not have the pith in it. That's going to be on the other part over there. So this part will be free and clear of all of that. And on this one, we're just going to make a round cut on it and should be able to turn this into a pretty good sized bowl. It won't be deep. It'll only be about 5 inches deep, but it's going to be probably about 9 to 10 inches across. Get in here. I have to go a little bit under this one. You can tell this wood is a little bit easier to cut through. And you can see that. And I didn't do too badly. I got a little bit off right here. I think I can cut that. That's a little rounder. Okay. So now we got a nice round. And I think this is going to be some interesting wood turn. And it doesn't take that long to do this, really. It's just a matter of, getting the time in here to lift that. And that's still probably about 15 pounds, I would say. It's a pretty heavy piece. Hey, Juan. Not sure what some of those things say in there, but we can translate. You watch a lot of Tree Guys, yeah. Well, that's true. By the way, there's nothing wrong with found on ground, and this is my theory. This is why I use a lot of this type of wood. I never know what I'm going to find when I'm turning it, so it's a challenge to me because you turn wood and you don't know what you're going to find inside the wood, and then you have to make adjustments. You see me do that dozens of times on this channel, where I have to make those adjustments. So that's part of what this is all about. But second of all, you have to make a lot of decisions ahead of time what you're going to do with a piece of wood, and you don't always know. You just don't always know what you're going to do. Now here's an interesting one for you. We've got this big piece here. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. Okay, and this piece here is it's another piece of that cork oak. You're going to hear cork oak a lot today, just so you know. Okay, but I'm thinking of cutting this in half right here, and the reason for that is because I think I can get 2 bowls out of this. It's pretty thick. It's about the right height, and I think the best use of it would be to cut it right down the middle and get 2 maybe matching bowls out of it that I could maybe keep. And now, if for some reason I lose the bark, I could still turn it into matching like candlestick holders or something else down the road. So I'm going to just just cut this really quick, and I think I'm going to leave them that way for now. I'm not going to turn them as circular. I can do that on the lathe later once I get my lathe back. But let's see if we can just kind of, well, I don't know. Short. You notice I have a deep and abiding respect for this blade. It took me a little while to get used to using the blade again after cutting my fingers off. But here's what we got now. Now, what you're going to see here is, and this is what I think is going to be cool, is this rays that go up here. There's rays. So as I turn this, these rays are going to come out, and it's going to look like a sunrise almost. It's going to make really pretty rays coming up this direction as I'm turning it. I think you can see it on this one too. And that showed up after we cut it in half. So we're going to have 2 pieces. One's slightly bigger than the other, but not much. They'll probably turn down to about the same size. So we will set those down for the moment. Okay. All right. So what's next on the agenda? Hi, Mark. Hi. Lots of people in here. Great. Now here's another piece. And this does not make a bowl. There's no bowl this way. There could be a bowl this way. Your grain is coming this direction, so it'd be really weird doing the bowl with the end grain outside here, or going into the end grain, I should say. You got a pith right here. So what I'm thinking is, I think I'm making two pieces here. Disregarding the bark, because I don't think I'm going to need the bark on this one. So let me get rid of the bark first. Bark. And that's kind of interesting, actually. I'll leave that for my wife. And I'll cut off the other end too, as best I can here, as straight as I can. They don't have to be perfectly straight, just cutting that off. And yes, I could make pen blanks again, like you said before. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid the pith on this one. I'm going to cut just to the side of the pith. Here. And then again here. And there's a crack right here, so I'm going to take this piece out. Good. Okay. And the reason I took this piece out here is because there was a crack, a hairline crack running right here. And if I'd have left that in, it probably would have cracked anyway. So we've eliminated this, and I might still use this for something else. It's a nice hardwood piece. Again, like you said, pen blanks. This is not the kind of wood for a pen blank, though. It's not interesting enough for me to be a pen blank. And quite honestly, I don't do many pens. They're just something I just don't do a lot of. So I'll probably just toss this. So again, it's in the fire bin. But you see these cracks forming, right? So this was going to be cracking further. Right, so we've eliminated that. Now we have two pieces that are like this again, and I can turn them this way, or I can turn them this way. Again, you got the end grain going this way. So do I want to drill into? Do I want to be drilling into the end grain when I'm trying to cut? This is pretty hard wood, and that's something I'll have to decide later on. But for now, I can just seal them this way, and we'll worry about grain later. So sometimes you don't have to save everything as a large bowl. It just doesn't always happen that way. Now, this one, I think is going to be beautiful. And I'll show you this side. This side looks ugly, but look at the side that I opened up when I cut the with the bandsaw, when I cut it up into the bandsaw. That has a lot of really nice color to it. So this, and we're just above the pith. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of round this off a little bit. And I think we're going to be able to turn this into a nice piece of bowl, nice down the road. And it's got some real nice coloring to it, and I think it'll look really good. So let me get the ears on again. And we will see if we can get this underneath here. That's just kind of getting the trimmings off here. It's still pretty oval. I obviously need to bring that down some more. Now let me work at it from this angle. That's going to need a little bit more. Getting too shallow on that. Yep. I need to kind of cut that off a little bit more. Yeah. Now we're getting more rounded. And the idea of being rounded, quite honestly, is just to keep it from being too wobbly when it's on your spindle. I got this side rounded. I think I need to shave this side down a little bit more. Taking off a little bit. Don't want to make it smaller than I need to. That's getting pretty close. I don't need to go too much more than that. Okay. So again, I think we're going to have some pretty nice piece of wood here for turning. And we'll see how that goes down the road. I'm going to put this over here with the others. I'm going to have a lot of painting to do when I get done here today. Painting all those wax on all those and letting them dry. See what we got here. We got. Sorry, you're a little loud there. Okay. Hi, Mash. Hi, Lubo. Juan, hello to everybody. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask, or any suggestions or anything you want to say. This is the place to do it. Talk to us. Let us know what's going on. Again, this is I'm kind of covering what you have to do behind the scenes to get things going. Don't leave. I see some people kind of leaving here, so I'll try and straighten this out a little bit. There we go. So again, what we have is, get this straightened out here a little. There we go. There we are. Okay. So what we have here is a lot of wood that needs to be processed. Okay, and processing wood is a big thought process. I sometimes spend weeks looking at wood before I even take the chainsaw to it. I mean, I may have it chainsawed down some, but by the time I get them in big logs, I'm looking at them and seeing what can I get out of this piece of wood. Where can I figure out what pieces I'm going to save, and then what can I bring over to the bandsaw to bring it up even more. So sometimes I'll have, like on this one, I may say, you know what, I can make one big piece right here. If you look at it, you could say, I got my pin here somewhere. Here it is. So if I take my pen and I said, okay, if I make a bowl, maybe I take this wood off and I do it from the top here. I can make a bowl that looks like this. And that would be the bowl. So I'd have to cut off everything here. Okay. And here. That's going to make a bowl, though, that's about this big around, because it can't be any bigger than this here. Okay. And this would have to be flattened out across here. So that's what our bowl would look like. Now, is that the way I want to make the bowl? Well, let me look at the wood. Another way of looking at it, and I'll turn it around this way, is what if I made it like this, like that? Can I do that? Well, I can, but I can only do it as wide as this. So take my trusty ruler out here. I've got about 5.5 inches to work with, so the widest this could be is here. So if I was to do this, it would be a roughly like this. Okay? Or I'd have to come in here and go like that, so that it wasn't any more than 5.5 inches out here. So the question then becomes, which is better? If I yeah, that's about 5.5 inches. So right about here, this would be the bottom, or this would be the top, and this would be the bottom down here, and it would go this way. So we're losing either all this, or if we use the other side, we make a bowl where this is the bottom here, and we can curve up like this, and I can make it, well, I can't make it any more than the other side either. So let's see. I could make it, but I'd have to have flat sides. I'd have flat sides on both sides, which is a way of doing it. But if I'm going to round it, I'm only going to have a bowl that's this big. Okay? So it's unfortunate that you don't have a lot, you don't save all this wood when you're doing this. Now, another way to consider it is, can we make 2 small bowls out of it? What do you think? Can we make 2 small? I'm sorry, I need to turn this over here, but I'm not including you in that picture. I'm sorry. There we go. Makes that a little bit easier to see, I think. Okay. So, sorry. I am not the world's best cameraman. There we go. This is the problem when you do everything yourself. You are the cameraman and you are also the arbiter of everything that goes on.